With the coming of the fall season, we tend to want to clean up our perennials in our garden, and that includes our hydrangeas. So the question arises, should you be pruning your hydrangeas in the fall season? We're going to be answering that question today. And if this is your first time here, my name is Marlene. Welcome to everyone. Welcome to my home and garden channel. And so, guys, this is what my hydrangeas were looking like this past summer. They were absolutely gorgeous. I enjoyed them both in the garden and as cut flowers. And if you've been following along with my videos, you'd have seen a few of those this past summer. And if not, you can always go ahead and, get caught up on those. But this is what it is looking like right now with it, fall coming upon us. You can see the leaves have the warmer colors as well as the flowers, and they're a little bit more dried out. So do we prune them or not? It's going to be dependent on a couple of things. Now, depending on the type that you have, if you have the panicle hydrangeas, this is a limelight hydrangea, it's a panicle hydrangea, and these bloom on new wood. So if you really feel like you need to prune them, you can, even though you could do them in the fall when they're basically going dormant, like these are going dormant right here, you can do it at that time. But ideally, the preferred time is actually in the late winter to early spring. Here are some gorgeous ones right here. And just in case you're wondering, do I have a panicle hydrangea or not? Typically, you can tell by the shape of the flowers. If you've had it blooming, they're usually more conical shaped and not that more flat rounded top like we see on some of the other types of hydrangeas like the one I just had. So, again, you can cut them back in the fall if they're going dormant, especially if you're in a colder climate, maybe like zone 6A, growing zones 5. You'll want to cut those back in the fall. And you can in milder climates as well too, but the best time, like I was saying, would be either at the end of the winter or early spring. And typically you cut them back to about halfway of what they were before, just to show you, what it looks like. And this is next to some ornamental grasses that were growing right there. Now, let's say you have a lot of these panicle type hydrangeas. You can always go in and you can trim them back with a tool like this one here. And these are some shears, and I'll link these in the description box for you. It makes light work of what you're doing. That makes it a lot easier, because if you have a lot, it's going to take you a lot of time to go in and be pruning them back. If you don't like power tools, you can always just use your typical pruners and get them cut back. And I'll also link this in my description box. You can get similar types of those if you would like to. And this is another type of panicle hydrangea here as well, and it is so gorgeous. I just absolutely love it. You can see how the leaves are shaped, as well as the petals, the flowers, the cone heads on there. And just to say, if you look at the leaves, you see that the edges are kind of smooth, and that's a way to determine also if they're panicle hydrangeas. The leaves kind of help to give it away as well. And I'll have some very important information about fertilizing them in the fall as well too, so be sure to keep watching so we can get to that point. Now, the next one again that blooms on new wood would be your smooth hydrangeas, and the leaf patterns, the edges are similar to what I just showed you just now for those panicle hydrangeas. And now we come to our mop heads or big leaf hydrangeas, also called macrophylla hydrangeas. And macro just means large or big, and phylla means leaf. And you can tell them by how large the flowers are. Usually more a rounded shape is what they have. The petals are a little bit larger, the clusters, how they come together. And the main thing to determine though is to take a look at the leaves. If you look in close, you'll see that the edges of the leaves, they kind of have a serrated edge, jagged edge if you wanted to call it that, but it's a clear way to tell that that's the type that you have. And they typically come in different colors, like your pinks, your blues, your purples. And it just depends on the acidity of your soil. It's going to help to determine what color your big leaf hydrangeas are. And these ones were just absolutely gorgeous. This is somewhere I visited. I visited a couple of times, and just to take a look at them and see how gorgeous they are. So that was in the summer. Now this is what they're looking like in the fall. Very different, same plants. And this is how the colors come up, and you can see the leaves have fallen off some of them already. So it just depends on what you prefer there. I do have to say that these right here, these are lace cap hydrangeas, and these also belong to the same group, macrophylla hydrangeas. If you look at the leaves, that's a giveaway typically right there. You can see how they're shaped. They're usually darker green, a little bit more glossy, and you can trim them back if you want to, but I'd say very, very sparingly. Not even trim, I should just say deadhead them. If you really don't want to have them in your garden, you can just deadhead them. I'm not even going to touch that one because I want to keep them, throughout the fall and into winter. So you just basically get your pruners and trim them off at an angle. And some people trim them off because they want to use them, like in decorations for the fall season or maybe Christmas. And so if you take a closer look in right here, guys, you'll see little buds that are coming up. So if we prune them now, that basically sends a message to them to start coming out and leafing out. And then they can get damaged in the cold. And that is definitely not what we want. What I'll say too is to be sure that you're keeping your pruners, that you keep them clean. And I typically just go in either before or after use. Just make sure I wipe them down, a little bit of rubbing alcohol, and that helps to prevent the spread of diseases. Of course, if they're in good shape, you're just cutting back one, you can always just go in and clean your pruners with a nice, solution of detergent, whatever type works for you, or dishwashing liquid. This is the one I like and it works for me, but, choose what works best for you. And since you have made it this far in the video, I do want to say that if you like flowers and all things gardening, I also do indoor plants in the colder months as well. To be sure to hit the subscribe button and tap on the notification bell twice so you never miss an upload. So again, it's a matter of preference for these as far as if you deadhead them or not. I just love to see them in the fall right through until the winter. Some people like it, some people don't. It just depends on what works for you, especially when we do get snow, because we don't get snow every year, but when we do get snow and it falls on top of them, it just looks absolutely gorgeous. And I'm sorry I didn't get to capture that for you here, but this is the best I can do to show you what they look like. These will need to be tidied up in the growing season because there are some older canes to the base of the plant. I'm sure we can see them or not, but they'll need to come out. But this would not be the time, either in the fall or in the winter, to do it. So I'll have a future video where I'll show you exactly when we would get that. And you can take a look and see the little buds that are going to be coming out. So we really don't want to be messing with it at all. Moving on to the next one. The next one would be your oak leaf hydrangeas. Oak leaf hydrangeas, they also bloom on old wood. Now, to be sure that you have an oak leaf hydrangea, just take a look at the leaves and you can see how they're looking, that they pretty much look like an oak leaf. And you can see that the flowers right here, they have a similar lace cap type style, but in this case it's more of a style than a type. And as you can see, the colors are changing as the season progresses. This was in late summer. They changed from that, that cream color to a more pink hue, and they get a little darker sometimes. So if you needed more information about hydrangeas, this is a video I did back in the summer. I'll go ahead and link it at the end of the video so you can get even more information about hydrangeas, these wonderful, wonderful flowers. So now, another thing to bear in mind is fertilizing, a very important part, because typically, we want to feed our plants. It can be healthy and everything. But whatever type you're using, whether it be your slow release, your fast release, the fall season would not be the time to go in and fertilize your hydrangeas. And the reason is, same that I mentioned before about pruning back at certain times, is that it encourages them to put out new growth, and they're going to get damaged. So we don't want for that to happen. We want to enjoy beautiful blooms like these that we have right here. And be sure to hit the like button if you've enjoyed this video. And it also sends a good message out so that it gets pushed out to other people so they can get the same information as well, so it can help them in their garden. And I just want to say that, everyone can have wonderful flowers, fruits, and veggies in their garden. It really is just a matter of having the information that you need and tweaking it to suit your needs for where you are, because everyone's garden is going to be different. There's no identical gardens. It could be even living next to each other. It's going to be different based on the things and the structures that you have in there. So just bear in mind that the ones that are the macrophylla types, or the oak leaf ones, that those are the ones that bloom on old wood, so you do not want to prune them in the fall at all. And again, if you want to just deadhead them a little bit, you can, but it's not preferred because we want to have those wonderful blooms and we don't want to shock them in the winter either. And you can just enjoy them if you like in your garden. Some people do, some people don't. I certainly do, but it just depends on a matter of preference. And of course, the ones that are the panicle ones, those you can take a chance and prune them back in the fall, but the preferred time would be at the end of the winter or in the early spring. You enjoy your fall gardening, just take a look around. You can make notes and see how things are going. You can decide, what your plans are going to be for the following year as far as your garden goes. But just go ahead and enjoy them. Enjoy this season. I say enjoy all 4 seasons in the garden. I want to thank you so much for watching, and I do hope to see you in the next video. Happy fall gardening. Take care.